Hello. I find it hard to imagine a world without music. Within an hour of wakening most mornings, I've listened to a piece of glorious music. When I'm tired or just fed up, music lifts my spirits. It makes me feel better about myself and the world. And yes, sometimes it lifts my mind to thoughts of God. Certainly I thank God for Bach and Beethoven and Mozart. Some Muslims think I'm wrong. They believe that to enjoy music is forbidden. It's at best a distraction, diverting the mind from more worthwhile pursuits. At worst, it can lead to immorality and licentious behaviour. Could this be the reason that it's very rare to see a Muslim playing in an orchestra in this country? Does Islam have a problem with music? Are some sorts of music more acceptable than others? Could a young Muslim be corrupted by listening to Mozart or Beethoven? Is there a difference between playing musical instruments and singing? Joining me to discuss Islam and music are Haras Rafiq, Director of Sentry, which is an anti-extremist consultancy, and former Executive Director of the Sufi Muslim Council. Saleem Chagtai, an Imam and Director of the Clarity Institute, which explains Islam to Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And Salman Ahmad, a rock musician originally from Pakistan, who now lives in New York. Do you listen to music, Haras?
Yes, I do, Ernie. I enjoy music and have done ever since I was a young child. I've grown up with music, both either in a spiritual and devotional sense, and also music that you hear every day on the radio and records. So yes, the answer to your question is I definitely do listen to music.
Saleem, is music a big part of your life?
Yes, it plays a fairly decent part of my life. I listen to a number of nasheeds. It can literally move me to tears.
What's a nasheed?
A nasheed is a religious song, which is a song devoted to God and His Messenger and many other virtuous acts in Islam. So they exhort the believers, their reflections on nature, on religion, on man life and the universe. So I find that very, very uplifting.
I want to play just a little clip now.
Muhammad alayhi salam sat quietly in the evening. His companion asked, "Oh beautiful man, why do you sit here grieving? My ummah, those who follow me, the future of their faith makes me worry till I cry."
Now those are songs. Would you listen to instruments?
The only instrument that I actually do listen to is something which is a one-sided drum, and that's something which is played in some of those songs, and I listen to those on occasion, yes.
But no violins or guitars or...
That's right, yes. No string instruments or wind instruments or the like.
Salman, you're a rock musician and a Muslim, and just before you talk to us, I'd just like to play a little bit of your music.
Our love will survive a nuclear explosion.
Now, Salman, I heard a guitar, I heard drums. It sounded very Western. You're a rock musician and a Muslim. Do you see any contradiction in that?
Not at all. I think this false dichotomy of Islam in the West, it's because there's a clash of ignorances. Let me give you other devout Muslim musicians. Yusuf, formerly Cat Stevens. Yusuf is a devout Muslim. He uses guitar, bass, drums, and sings in English. A.R. Rahman, who won 2 Academy Awards, devout Muslim.
Did the score for Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire, won 2 Academy Awards. Uses his faith to fuel his creativity. Myself, I grew up listening both to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, possibly the greatest 20th century Sufi singer, who collaborated with Peter Gabriel, Eddie Vedder. It's not unknown for Muslim musicians to be intersecting and overlapping different cultures.
At this stage in the programme, I'd like to discuss what the religious traditions say about music, the Quran and the Hadith, the traditions of the Prophet. There is a perception that in the Quran it says that all music is forbidden. Is that correct, Saleem?
There is a verse in the Quran which refers to something called Lahw al-Hadith. Lahw al-Hadith is a very general term for any vain or irreligious sound. The eminent apostle of the Prophet, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, explained that this refers to a vain type of singing. So singing which would not be devotional, singing that would be calling to lewd or forbidden things. And this is what he referred to, and he swore by God that this is what that verse means.
Haras.
First of all, in answer to your question, Ernie, there is nothing specifically in the Quran that actually says that music is haram or banned or not allowed. I mean, if it was so bad that God would not specifically mention in the Quran that it was to be banned, is really some people would say laughable, some people would say blasphemous. There are many hadiths that people use that actually misinterpret or interpret in a particular way to actually say that music or anything that is idle time or anything that actually leads somebody to distractions is not good for you. However, there's many aspects within the hadith where music is permitted. And the Quran very clearly says about the Psalms of David, where it talks about God actually giving David, peace be upon him, psalms. And, if you look at what a psalm is, and if you look at how the psalms were actually passed on, it was through a harp. And also there are many instances in the Quran where they talk about angels singing as well around the throne of God.
Salman, is what you do vain and idle?
There's nothing in the Quran which prohibits music. In fact, there is a verse in the Quran which says that it is a sin to prohibit that which God has permitted. And in the last 1400 years, in all different types of Muslim culture, there has never been any Khalifa who has outlawed, banned music. I'll take you back to 10th century Iraq. In Baghdad, the Khalifa was Harun al-Rashid. Now, he had musicians in his court who played the oud, which is the oldest stringed instrument, the forerunner to the Western lute. And he would ask his musicians to compose, perform. He promoted music, and that's been the case right across 1400 years of Islamic history. Second, human beings aren't robots. We're not supposed to look at a verse which says idle talk and say, well, that equates to music and musical instruments, and so all music is haram, all musical instruments are haram. The power of the human being through the Quran is that he's the highest of God's creation. He has the ability, she has the ability to think conceptually, to use the brain. So I think God left it up to human beings to sift through what is good for the human soul and body and what's not.
I do want to stick to the hadith just for a moment, because Saleem, I know that there is a story in the hadith that says that Aisha, the Prophet's wife, went to a wedding. And when she came back, the Prophet said to her, was there music at the wedding? And he said, you should have taken a singer.
Okay, let me just explain that hadith. The hadith says he asked Aisha, radiallahu anha, his wife, did they bang the duff, which is a type of one-sided drum. And then another tradition, the Prophet ﷺ said, make sure that the duff is banged when it comes to the wedding, so that it signifies that this is a source of celebration. First of all, I just wanted to take...
Well, we're talking about 1400 years ago.
Yes.
So if they had been drum sets available, perhaps people would have said, well, you should use drum sets.
Salman, there were lots of instruments at that time. The Prophet ﷺ himself used to put his fingers in his ears when he was walking past
wind
instruments.
This is zaif.
No, it's not daif. It's not daif. It's actually authenticated.
A daif hadith means weak. In 1400 years, there has been no single edict in any time which has said...
Come on, Salman. There's a consensus.
Hang on, Salman. Let him reply.
The four schools of thought have categorically forbidden it.
That's not true.
Well, let me. When you cite the evidence, then you can refute it. Abu Hanifa, who is one of the great imams, this is what most of the Muslims follow today. Abu Hanifa said that even if you hear it being played inside a house, you can go and smash the instrument up.
We're talking about instruments, Saleem. We're talking about instruments.
Yes.
And specifically, there seems to be a problem with wind instruments.
Yeah. Not just wind instruments. For example, there's a hadith in Bukhari where the Prophet says, my nation will seek to make a number of things allowed. One of them is gold, wearing of gold for men. One of them is drinking of alcohol. One is fornication, also musical instruments.
So they're all lumped together. And Haras.
Yeah, there's one that says, from amongst my followers, there will be some people who will consider illegal sexual intercourse, the wearing of silk, the drinking of alcoholic drinks, and the use of musical instruments as lawful. And then it continues. I'm assuming that's the one you're...
That's right, yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, it is there. But what's interesting about this hadith is, look at the classification. He didn't put it under music being banned, he put it under the banning of alcohol. And this hadith, to me and to many scholars, actually reads that there will be people who will be committing these acts through drinking of alcohol, through lewd behaviour, and they are a combination of acts rather than actually one in itself. Because the Quran actually says illegal sexual intercourse is haram. Very clear. We're told that the wearing of silk for men is haram. It's very, very clear. The
haram being forbidden.
Forbidden. The drinking of alcoholic drinks, the overwhelming majority of Muslims consider that to be haram. However, the Quran doesn't talk about music or musical instruments. And the way that scholars have always interpreted this is that by drinking alcohol, you actually commit a lewd behaviour,